Hello everyone, and welcome to another Friday lunch and dine. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching from. But today we want to just take some time to continue on our book review on Nothing Wasted by Kasey Van Norman. Very interesting, great book to read, to know that everything happening in our lives last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, this year, and any other year we have here is not wasted. God has a plan. God has something in mind for everything that happens. So I am excited that we can get to do this book review again. We have one more book review next Friday. Can you believe it? So if you having gotten your copy, try and get a copy, because this is a good book you want to read, you want to have in your library. And on the days that you think, this is just a waste, I don't know what I'm doing, you can go back to it and see that God is not wasting anything you're going through. So welcome. If you're joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. I would love to recognize you. This is Tina. I'll be your host. And guess what? Today I have a surprise for us. I have a very great sister friend joining me right here on our Lunch and Learn. So I am not going to talk about the book today because I am really excited about it. But this lady has been with us on different masterpiece events and conversations, but she has a great story. And I think if there's someone who knows firsthand how God uses pain to bring us to purpose, she has been there as well. It's good to see you. So let's welcome Cynthia to just walk us through this conversation today on this book review. So if you're reading the book, it has very short chapters, but some of the chapters I like the way that she wraps it up at the end. So like if you read chapter number 11, at the end, Kasey will say something like, God doesn't waste the reckless days of our youth. Some of us are mourning over our youth, over the days that we messed up and everything. God did not waste that, right? He uses them to shape our redemption. So there's something in it. There's still, remember, there is still some virtue and some beauty in the clay that with time is going to become a masterpiece. Well, let me not take it away from Cynthia. I'm going to add her on, and we are going to have that conversation. God is not wasting our pain. Cynthia, welcome. Good to have you as usual.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm always happy to be here.
All right, so take it away. I'll be behind the scenes waiting to hear all the great things about how God doesn't waste our pain.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Miss Tina, for having me. We just have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And this is a great book. I was reading it, Lady Pastor Tina told me about it. I got it and I was reading it. And it's amazing. What's in the book is so true. And I'll use a few things in my own life, my personal life, that tells me that it's true that God doesn't waste anything, especially if you're a Christian, especially if you believe in God. There's nothing that goes on in our life, hurt, pain, whatever it may be, that it's a waste. Because sometimes when we're going through it, we'll say that, why me? Why is God putting me through this? There are times that even some of the things that we go through, it's not even for us. We go through for others. And I'll give a couple of examples. And sometimes we go through so we will set up, so we will know, we will believe more in God. And I'm going to use, like Lady Satina said, there's a part that she says, God doesn't waste the wounds we've buried. He orchestrates events to resurface them for healing. And I'll give an example, a personal example, that at a point in our marriage, my husband and I were going through a lot of things, and a lot of things had happened, and I was just ready to move on in my life. But one thing I told myself was, I said, I don't want to have a child here and have a child here with different people. I just want all my children to come from one man, and then I can make my move. So we had a daughter at that time. I got pregnant, and then within a short time, I miscarried. You won't believe it, how it really hurt me. It really pained me. I cried. I went through so much because I had my plans. and for whatever reason, which now I understand, it didn't work out. But if that pregnancy had stayed and I had had my baby, I don't think I'll have a marriage now, because I had made my mind that I just want to have two kids with the same man and then move on. So despite the pain that I was going through, despite everything, I don't want to say God made me lose, but even my motive was so wrong that the pregnancy didn't stay. But it also didn't stay, and I was in pain, I was hurting. But you know what? During that time, through all the pain and the hurt and the crying and everything, during that time, my husband and I got closer. Things got better. I had a change of mind that, you know what? This thing that I had in my mind, that I had a motive, I had a goal, get pregnant, have a baby, and move on. It totally changed during that time. So, despite my pain, despite all the things, God knew what He was doing. God knew that you don't need to have that baby now. Because once you have that baby, your marriage is destroyed. And once the marriage is destroyed, all the other things that I need you to do, or I need your husband to do, you are just going to ruin everything. And so, God, everything that goes on in our lives, there is a purpose for it. You may be going through something right now and thinking, oh, where is God? Or why am I going through this pain? But sit back and look carefully. Sit back and think about it. Whatever you're going through, it's God working on you to bring you to a certain place. There's purpose in it. I have a friend that says that, look, she does everything in a crazy way. And when you tell her, she's like, there's a method to my madness. Everything that is happening to you as a believer, as a Christian, though it may be painful, I'm telling you, there's a plan behind it. God has a plan behind it. And you may not understand it now, like I said. To you right now, it's worrisome. To you right now, why? Why? But then at the end of the day, if you take your time and you believe, at the end of the day, you will realize that you went through this thing. It made you either stronger, it made you closer, it built character in you. Something definitely came out of it. Because God doesn't waste anything. Any pain that you go through, God doesn't waste anything at all. Another example I'll give you, even with this pregnancy thing that I talked about, I miscarried twice before I was able to have my second daughter. And when I had my daughter, my second child, so many things that at that point when I had my second daughter, I had a dream. I had a dream where God told me, if you know this, and Geddes, I think she's called, she takes pictures, her photography. She takes these beautiful pictures, and like in the dream, God showed me my daughter in His hand, and He said, nothing will happen to your child. Because during that pregnancy, the trials and the tribulations, now that I decided that I am going to stay in this marriage, there were so many things. One day you go, they say, we can see their hearts, we can feel this, but through it all, God had brought me to a place where I was never afraid. Not one time. Not one, even though my husband at the point was a little worried, like, oh, they said they couldn't find the chambers. So I was like, I know what God told me through my crying, through my praying, through my waiting on Him, through the pain. I know what He told me about this child, and I don't care what they said. I'm not going to do anything. At the point when I had a baby, they said, you need to go do x-ray. I said, no. My husband was like, just go do it. And eventually I went to do it, but I knew what the outcome was already, because through that time, God brought me closer to Him. God made me believe even more in Him. It's not about what I want. It wasn't about my plans. It wasn't about my goals. So, this is what I want. I had really planned my life out. But God was telling me that these things are happening in your life, not just to hurt you or not just to weaken you, but rather to make you strong, but rather to make you depend even more on me, to trust me more, to know that I am there for you, and everything that's happening will end up well. So, my sister, my brother, my friend, my daughter, my son, whatever you're going through at this point in your life, I don't want you to think that it's wasted. Whatever happened last year, whatever happened years ago, do not think that it's wasted. Sit back. Sometimes you need to self reflect. Sit back and think about the whole process, what you went through, why this, why that. Sit back and think about it, and you realize that from that, you may have learned some things, or maybe there are things in there that you're supposed to learn. and you haven't even learned it yet. But sit back and know that don't just focus on the pain. Don't just focus on the process, that this is such a painful process. Something beautiful will come out of it. It's like childbirth. You go through it all, and at the end of the day, you see your beautiful baby. But sometimes you wonder, and if you've never had a child before, you're like, oh my God, this thing, I'm about to die. But no, you're not. God will see you through it. And at the end of the day, there's something that you need to learn from it. At the end of the day, there's something that maybe you need to learn to help others. And the only way that you can do it is firsthand. Like when I started this, I started talking. I was telling you the things that my husband and I went through, and some of the things, some marriages don't survive those kind of problems, but just by the grace of God, we survived. And I thank God that when I tell people, sometimes when I sit with people going through the same things that we went through, I'm not reading a book to them. I tell them it's my life. It's the truth. It's my life. And those who know me know that it's my life. And they wonder, but it's become an inspiration for others. So as I was crying, going through it, and thought the end of the world was here, God was just building me, making me strong to just be an inspiration for others. So sometimes it's not about us. Sometimes it's not about us. It may even be about others. But don't think that you went through it all for nothing. You did not go through it all for nothing. You went through it to build yourself, and you went through it to encourage others. So as you go through whatever you're going through, see the good in it. There's always a good in it. There's always a good in it. Even when I'm miscarrying, some people go have the babies and both mother and child don't come back. But I lost my baby. I lost I miscarried the pregnancy. I was still here. And I've had two more children after that. So I can't depend on this. Oh my God, when I went through that thing, now I've come out of it, and I'm grateful to God because the whole thing has built me. It brought me closer to God. And I'll tell you, it saved my marriage. Because if I had that child, like I said, I don't think I'll have a marriage. So there's something you're going through, and sit back. At the end of the day, I'm saying it once again, sit back and observe and analyze and self-reflect and realize that whatever I went through this, and because of that, this is the outcome. And it's always something good, especially if you believe in God, especially if you trust in God. So this book is really encouraging us, and it's helping us. And as I read it, I've really fallen in love with the book. That there is nothing in my life that I didn't like, or nothing in my life that's happening even now that I don't really care for, that is going to be wasted. It's not wasted. Nothing is wasted. Look deep and sit back, and you realize that every little thing that's happening, good or bad, there is something you need to learn from it, or there's something that you have learned from it that you need to encourage others with what you've learned. So, Lady Satina, here we are. I think you're muted.
Amazing. I am just like I think we need a whole hour with Cynthia, because for her, like I said, all of us have our stories, and all of us have the pain moments and the pain points of our lives that some of us are still stuck and some of us have moved from there. But wherever we are, nothing is wasted. I think this is really, for me, this book is a discovery for my year. How God wants to tailor this year. He's telling us nothing is wasted.